Okay, so did you complete your assignments? Yesterday, whatever assigned.
That last one, write a program to know how many objects are created. That one didn't do.
And that was very easy actually. See, I will tell you the concept, right? So
Okay.
let me explain you in Notepad. Okay. So let's say I'm creating one class test. Okay. So in this, I'm declaring two variables. Simply, I will declare only single variable integer x, right? And in public section,
Okay.
I will declare constructor, right? So simply,
Okay. Can you please share your screen?
oh, sorry, I
Screen.
forgot. Yeah. Let me know once it's visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
That's visible, right? So I'm just creating one class test, and I'm declared one variable integer x by default is private, correct? So in public section, I'm
Okay.
defining the constructor. There is nothing but test, right? And inside that only I will
Okay.
define the body. If I define the body inside the class, that will be an inline function, correct?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So test function I'm defining here. Now instead of integer x, I will say integer count, right? So it will count the
Objects.
number of objects, right? So here I will say simply count plus plus, right?
Okay.
So here I'm saying void main, and inside that void main I'm writing the code. Let's say I've created two objects, test obj1, comma obj2, right? So now here I'm printing cout. Now number of objects I need to print, right? Number of objects. So will this work or not?
We're not counting any objects here.
No, that's okay. I'm not printing anything, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm just initializing this thing. So I'm just creating two objects, obj1 and obj2. Correct?
Okay, it will print number of objects. That's it.
Yeah, that is fine. So I'm not printing all over here anything. I'm just asking you. So when I'm creating any object, obj1 and obj2, so what it will do when I create obj1, it will call the constructor, right? Correct? So it will call the constructor, but it will increment the count by 1. Correct? Here I am saying count is equals to 0 because by default we take the garbage value, right? So when I'm saying test obj1, so what it will do, it will create an object, correct? An object will have a different memory, correct? That means all the variables what I'm using within class will have a single memory, right? For object 1. Similarly for object 2, it will assign a new memory,
Okay.
correct? So now if you see, I'm using count as variable, right? So it's an instance variable, right? So every time whenever I'm creating an object, so count will be allocated a new memory. So every time the count will be equal to 0 and the counter will increment it to 1. So is that correct?
Correct.
No, when I'm counting number of objects, so if I use this variable, it will always increase by 1 only. Because whenever we are creating any objects, it will allocate a new memory. So count will also allocate a new memory for object. Correct? You're getting my point or not?
No.
I will explain you. See, okay, just forget it. Just consider test obj1. So what it will do? If we create one object one, right? So object is nothing but memory
One
location.
object.
Memory
Correct.
location. Memory allocation.
Okay.
Allocation. It will do. So what it will do, it will allocate memory for this class, correct? So class will be as a template. So it will allocate the memory
Yeah,
for
correct.
count, correct? Count and this function,
Okay.
correct? So, right, so it will allocate memory for count variable, correct?
Okay.
Correct? That is okay, right?
Correct.
So object when the object will allocate the memory for count, right? So count will get the memory, it will get the initial value as garbage, right? Then it will call the constructor first when we declare obj1. So count will be equals to 0. Then we are incrementing the counter by 1 by using this increment operator.
One. Correct.
Correct? So the count value
Correct.
will be equals to 1. Correct? Now when I'm creating a new object, test obj2. So in that case, these
2.
two objects are completely different. So they have different memory allocations. That means object 1 has different memory for counter of count variable, and object 2 has different memory for count variable.
Okay.
Correct? So again, it will go to this
Mm-hmm.
constructor. Again, it will initialize the count is equals to 0 and count will be equals to 1. So now
So
you
1.
have two objects,
Okay.
correct? But the counter value is always 1.
Correct.
So is that correct or not?
1 is 1.
This is wrong, right? Because we are creating instance variable, right?
Okay.
Every time it will allocate a different memory and the counter will be equals to 1. Even if we create 3, 4, 5 objects, let's say I'm creating test obj3 or test obj4, right? Even for 4 objects, it will allocate different individual memories and the counter value will be equals to 1. You got understood my concept? Right? It
Yeah,
will not
understood.
count the object
Mm.
exactly because the,
Mm.
the reason is this variable is actually instance variable within a class. This is not a static variable.
Okay.
So you remember static variable concept we have in C.
Yeah, I remember.
If we use,
Only when
yeah.
initializing
So
it will
here we
be
need to use static variable.
okay.
So what a static variable will do, right? It's
When we are
actually,
initializing, the value will be
yeah,
same.
it's actually a shared concept, right? So
Mm.
only one time it will allocate the memory.
Mm.
Correct. So instead of using this instant variable, you should use static variable.
That. Okay.
Got the point? So when we are saying static variable,
Got
so it will allocate only memory once. So it will retain the last value. So when we are
yeah.
saying counter plus plus, it will
Last
retain the
week.
1, then 2, then 3, then 4.
Mm.
So by this you will get the number of number of objects declared.
Okay.
Right? So static
Okay.
variable, I'm not defining how
Mm.
I mean, you should just check it out on net, right? How it will define and how we're going to use it, right?
Okay.
So this is actually instant variable we are using,
Okay.
correct? So it's a simple thing you should
Mm.
define, right? So check
Correct.
here, static,
Okay. Mm.
right?
Correct.
So I gave you a hint how
Okay.
you will use it. You're
Okay.
clear about it now?
Mm. Yeah, clear. Mm.
Okay. Right? So whenever we are having a shared concept, then you should use a static variable.
Static variable.
Correct. So if you are here you are using integer counts, that is nothing but an instance variable of this class. So every time whenever creating any object or any instance of this class, so this variable will get initialized with different memory. Correct. So in that case, we need to use shared memory concept. This is nothing but a static variable.
Static variable.
So
Okay.
it will initialize only one and share the same memory. So when the counter is 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. So whatever object you will create, so it will increment the counter. Right?
Count.
So complete this program by today.
Mm.
Fine. Just Google the
Yeah,
static
understood.
variable and you will understand. It's very easy syntax to have.
Yeah, understood.
Understood? Similarly, just like static variable, we can have static functions also. So okay, so can you explain what is the difference between static functions and this instance functions? Any idea? Just now explain you static variable and this instance variables, correct? Any idea how the static functions will behave and this function will behave? The static is also shared concept, right? So think,
Okay, then the count value will be increasing like 1, 2, 3, 4 like that.
no, static
Instead of
variable I'm not telling. This
always
is actually
staying.
constructor, right? So this is actually constructor,
Yeah, constructor
right? So
test.
constructor should always be instance based because every time you're creating any object, so you should have a different constructor, right?
Mm.
So when I'm telling about
So it
static
is
function,
static.
so any function I can declare as static, right? As static, any function.
Static.
Any function I will declare as static.
Then when first it is initializing, it will be the same value, and then it will
Correct, right?
count
So when,
value will be
okay, so
increasing.
let's start with object creation. So when we create any object, right? So once we create any object, so object what it will do? Object will only access instant variables, instant functions and instant variables.
Okay.
Correct? Object can only access instant variables and instance function, but static objects can also be, sorry, static function can also be accessed by objects.
Okay.
So do you know the reason how we can use it and how it will do? I mean, do you need the object name for getting the static access or not? Because static is a shared concept, right? So it's not dependent exactly on objects. So directly with the name of class also we can use the static functions. Because this is a shared concept, right? So it's when we are saying static, right? So just like similarly, whatever function we are declaring in C, so that is totally accessible.
Okay.
You got the concept,
Yeah, got it.
right? So when we're declaring any object, object means we are declaring any reference. right? But when we are talking about static, right, so that is a shared concept that is not dependent on object.
Which will the
I think you're getting
function
confused.
is
Okay,
different.
okay, okay. So let me explain you again. See, just now we have seen the concept of shared variables, correct? The shared is, right, static variables. The static is nothing but a shared concept, right? So let's say we have one class test, right? So class test, I'm declaring
Okay.
couple of variables, right? Then what I'm trying to do is I'm creating objects. So when I'm going to create test object one, so what it will do, it will allocate a different memory to integer count, correct? Just like we have here. Correct.
Okay.
Similarly, when we declare test object 2 means it will allocate the same again different memory. Correct, and will assign it to.
Different memory. Yeah.
Similarly, for
Okay.
object 3, object 4, object 5, whatever objects we will
Four.
create, it will allocate different memories, right? So
Different
when we are
memory.
talking about static variables, so static variable will be declared only once in lifetime,
Once.
right? So static variable when we are
Yeah.
talking about, so this is not dependent on object memory allocation.
Correct.
Correct, because it's a shared memory
Correct.
concept. When you declare any static variable, so it will just like a global variable you are declaring outside the class,
Correct.
right? But this is reference to class actually.
Okay.
Got my concept? It is when we are
Yeah.
talking
Got
about
it.
functionality, so it will behave just like a global variable, but it is actually binded to class,
Okay. Okay. Understood.
right? So just like we have one template, right? So let's say in any offer letter, we have the signature common, correct? It's the shared memory concept,
Correct.
but the signature is bounded to that document.
Okay.
That is
Okay.
global we are using everywhere, but that signature is bounded to that particular template.
Okay. Understood.
Okay. So similarly, we have shared function concept. So what it will do, so without using that particular object one, I mean say without allocating any memory of object, we can directly use with the help of class name also, because that is the shared memory concept. It's just like a function we are declaring outside.
Okay.
Right? So what is today's assignment? Just create one static function and see how we can use it with
Okay.
object, correct?
Subject.
And how we
Okay.
can use it without objects. And second thing, within static function, try to access the instance variables. Are you able to access it or
Okay.
not? Correct? Just
Okay. I'll
play
do
with
that.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So this is the concept. So you understood the counter concept, right? How it will behave and how you will count the number of objects.
Yeah.
Correct. So
Yeah.
anybody can ask you in interview, so you should give the
Correct.
answer, right? That we can use static variable concept and we can just count the number of,
Okay.
yeah, we can count the number of objects with the help of constructor, right? So you can
Construct.
explain that when we're
Okay.
creating any object, we'll call the constructor. Within constructor, we will just increment the counter by one, and the counter should be a static variable. That's it.
Yeah. Static variable. Okay.
Got it? That's an interview
Yeah.
question.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Okay.
So now let's start with C, and I'm using Turbo C++, and finally I'm using tcdoc.esc. So did you try operator overloading? I mean, did it work for you?
Uh, no, it's not getting work. Some
Okay, so
syntax error
let's
is
start
coming.
it. Okay, let's start with that. iostream.h. Do you know what is this variable?
Which one?
This pointer.
This pointer I know. It will refer the mm,
Same.
same object. It represent the same object.
Okay. So let me explain you.
Like
What is the
at
exact
that
use?
time.
I will explain you, right? So why we are using this pointer? Any idea?
We can access at that time same like this.
So this pointer, as you said, we are referring to current object. Correct? As you said. That is okay.
Correct.
But why we are using this pointer? Any specific use?
For constructors.
No, it's not for constructors, right? So let me explain you. So here I'm using class test. I'm declaring variable integer x, then y. Correct? Now I'm defining public section. And here what I can do is I will write void set underscore value right? And here also I'm passing integer x comma integer y as arguments, correct?
Okay.
When I'm declaring the value, now I'm saying integer sum underscore value. This is very simple classes we have, right? So inside this function, what I'm trying to do is I'm just getting the sum of values of x and y,
Okay.
right? So integer sum, correct? Now here I'm saying sum is equals to x plus y, correct? So we are getting the values here. So simply I will say here x is equals to x and y is equals to y, correct? Because these are x and y values, variables in which we need to pass these values integer and integer y, correct?
Okay.
So inside this void main function, I will write test object name, then I will create object, whichever one. Okay, fine. So by default, it will call the default constructor that is provided by compiler. Correct?
Okay.
Right? It will initialize the value, that is okay. Are you getting my voice correctly?
Yeah, I'm getting.
Okay, it's fine. Right? So by object one, I will call the set values, set underscore values. Right? So inside this, I will pass 2, 3. Okay. After that, I will say g1 dot sum underscore values. Correct?
Okay.
So here I will just call it and we will get some value over here, right? So what I will try to do is I will just get the value integer result, right? And here when we are returning an integer value, then I will simply pass the result is equals to obj1 dot sum value and I will simply write get ch.
Okay.
Now, will it work properly? I'm declaring all the things, I'm summing the values and I'm assigning x is equals to x and y is equals to y. So will this work? These two syntaxes mainly. So x and y are arguments also, correct? And x and y are variables also of the class.
Valuations.
So compiler will understand x is equal to x and y is equal to y. What does it mean? Let's do Alt plus F9. Functions containing missing return statements. Which function they are talking? Okay, sorry, return. We need to some return. Yeah. Return sum. I think it should be healthy. Result is assigned a value that is never used. Okay, so we'll print the result also, right? Cout result is, and I will write result. Structure required on left side or right side. Result is assigned a value that is never used. Oh, sorry. Success. 7653. Did you understand how it's working and how we are getting the result 7653?
Maybe it's printing some garbage values.
While it's printing garbage value, we are assigning the values properly, right? Setting 2, 3, then it should be actually 5, it should return.
5.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay, we'll use clear screen here, right? 1 second. CLR, SCR. Any reason why it's returning garbage value instead of getting the sum 5? Here I'm passing 2, 3, right? So it's giving the value 2 and 3 here. X is equals to 2 and y is equals to 3. Correct? Then I'm going inside this one, integer sum, right? I'm declaring a local variable. I'm getting the sum x plus y, then I'm returning the sum. Correct? And whatever sum we are getting, I'm putting inside result and I'm assigning the value. Correct? All the variables are integers. Correct?
Correct.
So here, if you see x and y names are same, right? So that is not creating a confusion. X is equals to x and y is equals to y. It's just to differentiate both of them. What we will do is, this is a variable of class, so we will declare it by this pointer. So now you have the difference. X and y belongs to an object of a class. So these are actually member of a class, and x and y are nothing but a parameters that we are passing in a function. Now answer is okay. So compiler will not understand, right? What is x and what is y, correct? So what initially it was doing when we saying x is equals to x and y is equals to y, right? When I'm saying x is equals to x and y is equals to y, right? So compiler what will understand are x and y both are nothing but our class variables. So it will just taking garbage values.
Okay.
X is equals to x means garbage is equals to garbage, and y is equals to y means garbage is equals to garbage. That means whatever garbage value we have in x, it will assign to x, and whatever value we have in y, garbage value will assign to y. So it's actually just completely ignoring these things, x and y local variables, just like global variables. You understood the concept? Initially we have seen, right? So that's the reason. Once we are defining this thing, then what we need to do is we need to use this pointer. So it will indicate that this particular variable belongs to class, and when we are saying y, simply x and y, then it will allocate them. It will just check it out if we have any parameters variables or not. So it will simply say if the parameter is, I mean, it's just like parameters we are passing in function. So here x and y will be parameters of function that we are passing, and x and y this, which are pointing by this pointer, it will be variables of a class.
Okay.
You got the concept now? We check the output, it will be 5. So this is the concept of this pointer. Whenever we have parameters, right, with same name as we have as the class variable, then we are using this pointer, right? And this pointer will refer to this pointer
Class
will refer to current object, the current object that you are using to call this method, right? So it will refer to obj1 here, right? So it's pointing to obj1 because this function we are calling from obj1. I'm creating one object is test obj1, then I'm calling this object obj1 dot set values. So this function is calling by obj1. So this pointer will point to the current object, correct? So if I say I have object obj2 also, right? Fine. So in that case also, what it will do, it will point by this one object one only. This pointer will belongs to obj1 only because the set values we are calling from obj1. Now after this, if I call the obj2 dot set underscore values, I will say 5,6. Now what will happen? This pointer will point to obj2 when it will execute, because set values we are calling from obj2 now, right? So you understood the concept? Any confusion you can ask, right? Because this is important.
So every time if we create the object, this pointer will.
Yeah, this pointer will always refer to your current object. Correct, right? So you can use this pointer any time, right? So this pointer will just point to your current object.
Okay.
Right? So either you can call by obj1.set values or obj2.set values. So when we are calling obj1.set values, that means set values function, set values class method will be called by obj1. So obj1 is nothing but our current object. So this pointer will refer to obj1. Right? When we are saying obj.set values, so set values class method will be called by obj2 object. So obj2 will be our this pointer at that time.
This pointer. Okay.
You understood the concept?
Understood.
Right. So this is the reason we are using this pointer.
Okay.
So that is a practical example that I'm using this pointer. Any confusion you have here?
So now if we execute this program now, for the obj1 dot some result, it will give the garbage value. Or
which one? obj1 dot?
For obj1 here result we are taking that some obj1 dot some values are there.
Correct. Yeah. If we
print out that result also, it will give the garbage value, and for the obj2 and the result will be 11. One is garbage value and
it will not be garbage value, right? See, what I'm trying to do is, just forget about object2, right? As of now, just forget about it, right? So obj1, I'm declaring it result.
No. So if we want to print the both results, like
it will print differently. That's what I'm saying, right? See, okay, let's do one thing. So here I'm printing the result. right? So I'm just copy this, let me copy this value, obj2, fine, then cut, right? So here I'm printing result of object1 is fine. Now again I'm doing the same job, sorry, paste, right? So here I'm just using another object, obj2 dot, obj2 dot set value.
Okay.
I'm calling it. Then what I will do is I will simply write clear result, right? Or simply I will write result is equals to 0 just to initialize the value again. Correct?
Okay.
Now again I will say set values, then I'm getting the result. So result is equals to again obj2 dot some underscore values. Correct? Here I'm getting, and again I will use the same job. Control then paste. Right? So what it will do, see, obj1 it will allocate a different memory, and obj2 it will allocate a different memory. Correct? So here I'm going and I'm just calling the set values. Correct? So object1 is calling this method set values. So this has a different memory. So just like a template we have for class test, right? And obj1 and obj2 are nothing but a copy of that particular template. Correct? So let's say we have a class test template. It's nothing but a form, admission form. So I'm just creating two Xerox copies of that. So obj1 is one Xerox copy and obj2 is different Xerox copy. Correct?
Okay.
Right? So both copies, now in one hand, left hand I have obj1 and right hand I have obj2.
Okay.
Correct? So my left hand you can consider as this pointer. Right? So when I'm talking about obj1, right? So my left pointer is pointing to obj1. Correct? When I'm using my left hand, so that will be this pointer is handling or is holding this particular obj1. In my right hand, there is another this pointer.
Okay.
Right? So this pointer will always refer to current object. Exactly.
Okay.
You're getting the concept, but still you are confused.
So it will represent both the objects, like.
Yeah, it will represent. See, it belongs to class only. When we are saying this pointer, so it is completely within class when we're defining this pointer. So this pointer will refer to only class.
Okay.
So within class, whatever functions we are doing, it should be, I mean, this pointer should belong to that only. This pointer cannot be used outside of class.
Okay.
So I'm giving you one more example, right? So if you're going to a restaurant, right? So let's say I'm going to any luxury restaurant, right? So what it will do, initially we need to book the counter, right? Exactly that this time we are going to, my family is going to this restaurant, so I will book this particular place. So let's say in hotel we have only one room that should be allocated, right? And two families needs to be go, right? So one family is going at 2 p.m., another family is going at 4 p.m. Correct? So if you go inside that hotel in that room, right? So one waiter is there, one manager is there, right? So when you go inside that room, right? So you will be an object, right? When you're going inside that room, and waiters and managers are nothing but a this pointer. So when you go inside that room, so that waiter and manager will serve you, right? Because you are accessing that room at that time.
Okay.
Correct?
Okay.
So manager and this one are this pointer. So that will always inside that room, right? And you are nothing but an object. So 2 p.m. you are going, so your object one, you are going inside this room, and this pointer will refer to both you guys. That means waiter and manager will serve both you. Correct?
Okay. Correct.
Now at 4 p.m. another family will go. So that is nothing but object two, but waiter and manager are same. Correct?
Okay.
They will serve the same, and they will person the different person at 4 p.m. So this is nothing but object two they will refer. Right? So this pointer is within inside that class that will refer to the current object, whoever is using that particular class.
Understood.
Right? So we're using particular class methods and variables.
Okay.
You understood this concept now?
Yeah, understood.
Right? So first family is object one, second family is object two. But when you're going inside a hotel, inside a room, so manager and that will be a different pointer, right? So this will be a this pointer. So when you're going inside object one, so when you are accessing the room are nothing but just like a functions you have. So at that time when you are using variables and functions, then in that case they will act as this pointer to your object. When object two is going, object two is using that particular functions and methods. In that case, this pointer will refer to object two. So this pointer will always belongs to a class. It will whenever okay. So it will just point to current object which is calling.
Okay, understood.
Now you got the point? So similarly, when we are saying object one set values, it will assign 2 and 3 values. It has different memory, correct? So this pointer will point to obj1, right? So we'll get the result 5 and it will print the value. Now when we are saying object 2 dot set values, now this pointer will point to object 2. Just like second family we have, right? It will point, we'll get the values of 5 and 6, right? And we'll get the sum and we'll return the values as 5, 6. You got it? If you want, let me execute it.
Yeah, got it. Understood.
The result of object one. Are we printing the second one? Oh, sorry, we are not printing.
No, we are not printing.
Result of object 2 is. So here I will print again result.
Result.
Right. So I'm using the same variable, right? So initially I'm printing the first value result, then I'm clearing it, then again I'm using it the second object value.
Okay.
Right. So on success now, Control F9. So it's printing 11 now. First one is 5 and second one is 11.
Correct.
So you can format this result also, right? So always use formatting. So here you can use /n/n.
Okay.
Alt F9. Then Control F9. It's printing correctly now. Result of object 1 is 5 and result of object 2 is 11. Similarly, you can go ahead with another objects 1, 2, 3, 4. So just consider this restaurant example, right, that I gave you. That is much more important. So you understood the concept of this pointer now?
Yeah, understood.
Any confusion you have?
No.
You can ask if you have any confusion, right? You don't hesitate. Let me save this file. I will share with you, right? Yeah, I will share this file with you. So let me give the name this underscore point, right? This point. So let's create another program. Hash include io3 dot h hash include unio dot h, right? And here I'm using void main I'm using here. Then I'm simply just curly brackets, right? So now I'm defining class. Okay, class you can say we can take two variables, longitude and latitude, right? So we'll just get the sum and everything over here, right? So class dimensions you can say I will create DIMNS, right? So I'm just using a short form.
Okay.
Right. So here I can write integer latitude. Okay, dude or dude, I don't remember. And here longitude. Right? So both are nothing but by default private variables, right? So inside that public function. So here I'm using constructor overloading, right? So just like I told you, right? So we can pass at empty parameters as well as parameters constructor also. Right? So when I'm saying constructor, simply I will write the class name, right? And here I will write this thing. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm saying latitude, not toot. Okay, that's what I'm getting confused. Okay, is equals to 0, and longitude is equals to 0. So I'm initializing the value over here, correct?
Okay.
Right. So similarly, I'm using another one with parentheses, right? I mean parameters. So I will say integer x comma integer y, right? So what I will try to do is, okay, I will simply write latitude is equals to x and longitude is equals to y. So I'm assigning whatever values I'm passing over here, correct? So instead of x and y, if I write latitude here and longitude here, now what do I need to do?
I have to use this.
Yes, correct, right? So here the variable name will be same. So what I will do, this pointer, right? So instead of x and y, I will write longitude and latitude. Longitude. Now you understood the concept, right, of this pointer. Right? So I'm just saying Alt F9. Errors. What is the error? Longitude.
That's it's here. This.
Oh, sorry.
You need a semicolon.
Yeah. Undefined symbol longitude. Where is that? Oh, I think I wrote misspelling mistake. Okay, longitude. Now it should be fine. Warnings. Okay, that's okay. Fine. So we have class dims. Inside that we are defining two constructors. First one is default constructor that we are defining, and second one is nothing but a parameterized constructor. This is the concept of constructor overloading.
Okay.
Right. So these two things we have defined. Correct. So here what I'm trying to do is I'm just creating an object dims. It's dims, right? Oh, sorry, not.
DIMNS.
Yeah, I think it's okay because I've used dims here, right?
Okay.
So dims I will write obj1, correct? It will call this particular. Now which constructor it will call? First one or second one?
First, this one. Second one it will call.
No, I'm saying dims obj1. I'm not passing any parameters over here, right? So it will call the first one, correct? Default one. Correct. Now if I pass this value, let's say I'm passing 2, 3, then it will call the second one. Correct? Got it? Right. So when we are saying operator overloading, right? So what was the syntax? It will be return type. I'm just giving you a syntax example, right? What it will be. Return type. Then we have function name. Right? Inside this we have parameters, class and obj. Right? So this is actually a syntax. When we're talking about operator overloading. That is very easy concept, right? I will show you. So here, what is the return type? Let's say we have two objects, right? So you understood the concept of operator overloading, or shall I explain? So you understood?
I understood.
Yeah. So let's say I'm doing the operator overloading for plus operator. So normally for basic data types, when we are saying we have two variables, integer a and integer y, right? So let's say when I'm summing this variable, integer a and integer y, right? So I'm saying a plus y, right? So what it will do, it will just sum up simple the value of a and y. Let's say I'm assigning a is equals to 10 and b is equals to 10, right? So when I'm saying a plus b, so it will give 10 plus 10 equals to 20 value directly. So it knows what needs to be done with basic operator types. When I'm saying integer variables, it will just sum up the value. When I'm saying characters, something, right? So it will do different operation. When I'm saying floating point values, when I'm saying two float variables, float a, float b, and float a is equals to 5.6 and float b is equals to 5.3. So it will just sum up the value. So for basic data types, whatever is predefined in C, it knows how operators will behave. Got my concept? So for basic data type, whatever operators we are using, these are, I mean, whatever definitions we have, these are predefined in C language or C++ compiler. Right? So how it will behave on basic data types. Now, when we are talking about structures or classes, so these are nothing but custom data types. Got the concept? Yeah. These are actually custom data types that we use, that we are created using the combination of basic data types. Just like we have employee class, I'm using integer name and salary. Right? So structure I'm creating, there is a customized data type that we are creating with the help of basic data type combination. So compiler will not understand how it will behave when we are using operators, plus, minus, multiply, divide, increment, decrement operator, multiply operator. The compiler will not able to understand. So that definition we need to define by our own. So that is actually syntax. So function name, then in that we are using operator, class object. So let me just define one on, so you will understand, right, what I'm trying to do. So what is the class name here? So let's say, okay, let me give you an example. So class name is nothing but dims, right? So I'm creating two objects, dims obj1 and obj2, right? Now I want to sum these values obj1 and obj2 and assign it to obj3. Right? So the syntax will be obj3 is equals to obj1 plus obj2. But compiler will not understand how it will sum. Right? So what compiler will do, what we will do is we will create one function, and the template should be like this: return type, then function name, then operator, then class object we are passing. Right? So I will explain you what is that. So what is the return type? Return type is nothing, just like sum we are returning, right? So it will be integer sum, right? So when we are saying object 1 plus object 2, so the data type of object 1 is class dims. So the return type should be dims, correct? Now the function name should be operator, that is already predefined, right? And we are saying operator, that will be plus. Now inside this, what I will do is I need to pass DMS, correct? And I will pass object2, obj2.
Okay.
Correct. So now do alt plus F9, giving warning, but everything is okay. Correct.
Okay.
So now what I will do is I will create another object here, DIMNS temp. This is the temporary object and okay. So inside this I will access temp dot. Now what we will do here? Any idea? Okay. So when we say latitude is equals to, now this latitude plus obj2 dot latitude temp dot longitude is equals to this latitude plus obj2 dot latitude. Sorry, I need to use the semicolon. Fine. Then I will say simply return temp. So you understood what I'm trying to do here? Right. So 1 second. Let me just explain you one more thing. So here I'm declaring obj1 2, 3, right? And again I'm declaring obj 5, 6, right? So here I'm just saying simple, and another object I will declare as obj3. obj3 is equals to obj1 plus obj2. It's actually target, right? With statement missing.
It's void main has to be closed.
Which one? This is closed.
Main is closed.
Yeah, so let me just check it out. It's saying error line number 46, statement missing. I think we missed it somewhere. Let's check the line numbers mentioned, right? 24/7 and 46 we need to check, right? So 46, 45, 46. I think here we okay, sorry. Undefined symbol obj2. Sorry.
Okay, obj.
So I'm just saving the name as operator. OP underscore over. So alt plus F9 now success. Got it? So what I'm trying to do here is it will call obj1 plus obj2, right? So when I'm saying obj1 plus obj2, right? So what compiler will do? It will say obj1 dot operator plus, then it will pass obj2. So this is internal processing compiler will do. Internal processing. So you understood what it's trying to do? So what it's trying to do is it's calling operator plus function. So this is actually function name operator plus, correct? So it will calling the operator plus function with object1. So object1 object is calling this particular operator plus class method and passing object2 as variable or parameter. So internally what it will do, it will take object1, right, as this pointer, correct? Because this is the current pointer. It's calling operator plus function and it's passing object2 as parameter. So internally it will do this thing. So what it will do, it will call operator plus function and pass obj2. So similarly we are doing here. Here we are passing obj2 and here we are calling this function operator plus. Correct? So whenever we are writing the syntax obj1 plus obj2, so compiler indirectly what it will do, it will do this thing. It will take obj1 as current object and will pass, it will call this operator plus function and pass obj2 object. Right? So this, yeah, if you go inside this, so I'm using this pointer. So this pointer will refer to obj1. Right? So this pointer will refer to obj1. Correct. So internally compiler, what it will do, it will call like this function as I told you, obj1 operator plus, then starting object2, right? So obj1 is calling this method, correct? So whoever person is accessing this method, this is nothing but a current object. So this pointer will refer to that one or that object only. So this pointer will refer to obj1, correct? So what I'm trying to do is I'm creating one temporary object. So just like integer variable we are using, right? So because we are using DAMN as a template, so we are using D. So the temporary object name will have the data type as DAMS, right? So it contains two values, latitude and longitude, correct? So I'm assigning latitude values equals to obj1 latitude plus obj2 latitude value. Similarly, obj1 latitude longitude and this, sorry, latitude I use both sides, sorry. Longitude, and here will be also longitude. Longitude. Fine. So latitude value obj1 plus obj2 dot longitude, it will assign to temp dot latitude. Now obj1 dot longitude, then obj2 dot longitude. Both sums it will assign to temp dot longitude and returning the temp value. So this temp value will be returned to obj3, correct? So what we will do is we will create another function, right? Void show underscore values. Correct. And simply what he will do, he will simply write cout latitude is, what will be the value? It will be this. Either you can write this pointer or either simply you can write latitude. So will that work?
This pointer then?
It will not work, right? Because object1 we are not modifying any value. Correct? So what we will do is we need to pass one object3 again here. Correct? Because object3 will contain the sum. Correct? So obj3 dot latitude, correct? And we say cout /n and longitude is obj3 dot longitude, correct? Now here I will go and I will pass the value object3. Now what I will do is I will simply call this function show underscore values and I will pass obj3, correct? And I will write get ch. Errors. Function show values should have a prototype. Dimensions of 3. Why it's giving so error? obj3 I'm passing show values. Okay. What I'm trying to do here is I'm just calling this directly. Right? So it should be obj1 dot show values. Correct?
Okay.
Longitude is 9. Why it's not printing latitude? Okay, latitude is printing above. That's not correct. 1 second. We need to format it. Right. So here I will write /n. Sorry. /n. Latitude. Fine. F2. Alt F9. Then Control F9. It's printing the last value. It's creating confusion, right? The clear screen. CLR. Now it should print, right? So it should be actually 2,3, right? So the value should be 5, correct? And this is 5,7. The value should be 11.
It should come 7 and 9.
Yeah, sorry. 7 and 9. Correct. Right. So that is okay. 7 and 9 it should print. Correct, right. So let's check if value is coming correctly or not. Yeah, it's coming correctly. We understood the concept now?
Yeah, understood.
So instead of operator plus, if I use operator minus, right, then I will change the simply values. I will say plus, then I will say minus.
Understood.
Subtract the values. Correct. So again I will say F2, Alt F9. Yeah, while illegal structure. Where? Okay, minus. Because we are using operator minus now, right? So it will give error otherwise. Success and Alt F9. So see the -3 value. Correct. So 2 minus 5 is equals to -3 and 3 minus 6 is equals to -3. Correct. Similarly, we can do multiply. This is easy concept, right? Now you understood?
Yeah,
So
understood.
again, this will go here and
That time I was passing the
that
two
is
parameters,
okay.
that's why it's clear.
Right. So here I changed. Now if I say Alt F9, success. Now if I say it will be 10 and 18, correct? 5 to the 10 and 6 to
Right.
the 18. Similarly, we can
16.
use divide operator also here.
Okay.
Correct, you understood? Now I'm using this operator here, right? Just to make you understand, right? Why I'm using this one, right? Because we are referring to obj1.
Okay.
Correct. So by default also, if we don't use
Correct.
this operator, so it will work, right? Because
Okay.
you understood the concept why? Because here we are passing only object name, right? So it will not collide with latitude and longitude variable. We are not passing the same variable name.
Okay.
So it will work in this way also.
Okay.
See, it's working, right?
Yeah, correct.
You got the concept now?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, so this is the simple way when using plus, minus, divide, multiply, right? Now we have another operator, increment and decrement operator, right? Operator plus plus. Correct. So here I'm not passing any value because plus plus means when I'm saying C plus plus. So what does it mean? C is equals to C
C plus
plus 1. Correct. That means if I say it's a simple variable integer C, then it will be, let's say integer C is equals to 4. So the value after C plus 1 will be C is equals to 4 plus 1 is equal to nothing but 5. Correct. So basic operators we know how it will deal. But when we are talking about objects, right? When I'm saying obj1 plus plus, it means it equals to obj1 plus 1. So what it will do with plus 1? Correct. So compiler will not understand what I will do with plus 1 with the object data type.
Yeah, correct.
So one has integer data type and obj1 has dims data type. So what the compiler will do? So it will not understand, right? But here, if you see, we are only using one object. We are not using two objects, right? So we don't need to explicitly pass the object as argument.
Okay.
Correct. So whatever object I'm calling this function obj1 or obj2, right? So it will be enough. Correct. So I don't need to pass any explicit arguments over here.
Okay.
Right. I will simply call this function with the help of obj1, and this pointer will refer to the current object and it will increment the value. Right. So what I will do is I will simply write this. Then latitude is equals to this latitude plus 1. So now compiler will understand what it's trying to do. Longitude is equals to this longitude plus 1. Understood?
Yeah, understood.
Since we are referring to this pointer, right? So we don't need to return any explicit value here.
Okay.
Correct? So instead of this, I can write also void. Because we are referring to current pointer, right? So sorry, we are referring to current object. So whatever changes we make in the current object, it will reflect directly in main function also.
Okay.
You understood? Because object is nothing but a reference point, address we are just using it. Right? So when I'm calling this one, okay. So here I'm just getting the values obj1 dot something, right? After multiplication. Now what I will do is I will simply write obj1 plus plus.
Okay.
Correct? Now see. Warning. Okay. So there's one more difference I will tell you. So you know pre and post operator, right? Plus plus and after that. Right. So here I'm using a pre operator, right? So it will behave perfectly. If I'm using prefix.
Okay.
Right, so it will behave perfectly. If you alt plus F9, it will give success message. Correct? The time when I'm using plus plus after this, so it will give me one warning. Operate overload prefix after plus plus used as a postfix operator. It's what it's saying is when I'm declaring this one operator plus plus, right? So by default it will be called as plus plus obj1. That is nothing but with prefix operator. If we want the same thing to be used with postfix operator, right? So it's just like it's giving warning. So just to avoid this warning, what we will do is we'll pass a dummy variable. Dummy variable nothing but integer x. Any variable we can pass. So now it will skip this warning. Parameter x in a value that is okay. So that's a dummy variable. So whenever we are using postfix operator, then simply we'll pass the dummy variable. So compiler will understand what it will do. It will do post-processing or it will do pre-processing. Got it?
Got it.
Right. So here when I'm saying obj plus plus, now I will print the values. Now C out. Right. Then values after, sorry, not C out. So what we will do is obj1 dot show values.
Sure.
Correct. And I'm passing here obj1 only.
Okay.
So do I need to pass obj1?
We need to.
Yeah, because in show values we are passing a variable name.
Passing
Yeah,
variable.
correct, right. Now I'm saying Alt plus F9 warning, that is okay. Now Control F9. Because 10 and 18 you are getting the multiplication value, but actual values are 2 and 3.
3 and 5. 2 and 3. Oh, yeah, 2 and
Yeah.
3.
So 2 plus 1 is equals to 3 and 3 plus 1 is equals to 4. You can check it out. Right? Or what you can do is instead of creating that confusion, you will pass obj3.
Okay.
Right? So instead of saying obj1, you will say obj3 dot plus plus, and here when you're saying this one, just pass this obj3. Now it's fine.
Okay.
Got the concept now? This should be an operator plus plus pre and post operator, and how we are using these operators. This simple operator overloading concept. So same thing you need to repeat. You just need to bother about only one function. So if you understand operator plus, then you will do all the operations. And if you understand operator plus plus, then you can use operator plus plus pre and post also. Similarly, you can do operator minus minus also.
Minus. Okay.
Correct? So here you will do -1 and -1.
Okay.
Correct? And similarly, when you go down, then again you need to do minus minus. Otherwise, it will give error because we didn't define anything.
Okay.
Right? Same. 9 and 17. 10 minus 1 and 18 minus 1. Similarly, in -1 also, you just need to define this integer x as dummy variable. So it should be for postfix only. We are defining this dummy operator. So compiler will understand this is a postfix or prefix.
Prefix. Okay.
Got the concept?
Yeah, got it.
Any confusion over here? You can ask.
Here, no confusion.
Sure. That's easy and important concept. Right? So the tricky part. Right? So you should practice this. I will send you this file op.sign. Right? Okay. So any confusion you have till now?
No confusion.
Sure?
Yeah, sure. Very clear.
So clear, all clear. That's okay. So okay. So I think this concept we cover. I will just take in simple examples, right? So similarly, you can do plus, minus, equals to. Also, you can operate overload, right?
Okay.
So there's a concept of copy constructor, right? So I will explain you in Notepad. So there's a concept of copy constructor. Right? So normally till now you have seen simple empty parameters. I mean default constructor and overloaded constructor, right? You can say. Correct. So now there's a third type of constructor. We have nothing but a copy constructor, right? So let's say just now I've seen one class, right? DIMS, right? So here I'm creating obj1, then I'm creating obj2. Correct. Now I'm saying obj1 is equals to obj2. So how the compiler will behave? Internally, objects or reference variable are nothing but just like a pointer, or we can say it's referring to address or memory. So any idea how it will behave? Any guess?
These two are not same, different memory locations.
Sorry? Any idea how it will behave? So when I'm saying object1 and object2 and I'm assigning obj1 is equals to obj2, right? So here let's say I'm using 2, 3. So it's just like a parameterized constructor we are calling, right? And I'm using object2, and simply what I'm trying to do is I will say object2 sorry, object 2 is equals to object 1. Any idea how it will behave? The objects internally refer to address, right? So it will point to address, just like pointers. So what it will do, any idea? Just think about reference variable, whatever we have done in C language.
How it will behave means like,
I mean, when we are saying object 2 is equals to object 1, so it will allocate the same address, or it will share the same memory, or it will point to the same memory. Or let's say for object in this class DAMS, right? I have two variables, class
it will allocate two
DAMS,
different memories.
right? So in that this we have, let's say, two variables, integer x and integer y. Integer x, comma, integer y. Right? So how it will behave now? Will it copy all the values from object 1 to object 2?
No.
Or it will simply allow, I mean, both will refer to the same memory. So where whatever change I will do in 2 and 3, it will look at the same thing.
No, it will not do the same thing. So both will have two different memories.
Yeah, two different memories they have. Now I'm saying object 2 is equals to object 1 then.
Object
Let me clarify one more thing. Instead of this thing, what I will do, I will use a shorthand operator and I will say here DIMS obj2 is equals to obj1. Now so will all the values of x and y, that is 2 comma 3, will be copied to object 2, or object 2 and object 1 will refer to the same position or same memory location? Internally object is nothing but we are referring to memory.
Okay.
So what it will do is when I'm saying DMN's object 2 is equals to object 1, so we are just initializing this object 2 with object 1 values, correct? Internally it should mean like that, but what compiler will do is, as object is pointing to memory location, right? So now what it will do, it will share the same memory location to object 1 and object 2.
Okay.
Correct. So here let's say in public site, if I write void set underscore values and I'm using integer, sorry, integer set comma integer k, just to make the, I mean, name different, right, from x and y. Correct. I'm using z and k, right? So here I'm assuming x is equals to z and y is equals to k. Correct. So when I'm saying DMS object 2 is equals to object 1, that means it both will point to same memory location instead of copying variables values. Correct. So when I'm saying obj1 dot set values, then I'm passing here 6 comma 7. So what it will do, by default obj2 will also point to obj1 memory, right? So if you check the values of x and y for obj2, right, so this will also get changed to 6 and 7. You're getting the concept? So just like a pointers you should think, right? So like we have two pointers, right? So one point is referring to address 1024. Now second pointer also, when I'm saying p2 is equals to p1, so it will exchange the address, right? So it both will point now to the same location. So p1 will also point to 1024 and p2 also point to 1024. So if you change any values with the help of p1 address, correct, that means indirectly you are changing the value at address level. Right? So at 1024 I'm changing some value, so that value p2 is also referring, so that will also impact p2. Right? So similarly here when we are saying object 2 is equals to object 1, so by default compiler will understand that both will share the same memory. So if you make any changes to object 1 location, so that will reflect in object 2 also. Right? So this is actually not expected behavior, because objects are nothing but memory allocation we are using. These are nothing but different memory allocation we are using, as you said. Correct. So by default it should not be the behavior, but compiler is behaving like this when you said you write the syntax. Right. So just to overcome this issue, we are using copy constructor.
Okay.
Right. So what it will do, it will copy the values always one by one, right? Instead of bitwise copy. So bitwise copy is nothing but we are referring to the same memory. Correct. So when I'm saying copy constructor, right? So the syntax will be same like constructor we have. So it will be DIMNS. Correct. Inside this, what we will do is we will pass the syntax constant. Then I'm using DIMS. Then I'm using any object 2. Sorry, object 1. Right. And what I'm trying to do is I will simply write this. Right. Then let's say x is equals to obj1.x, and this y is equals to obj1.y. You understood the concept? And instead of this thing, I will write and, so it will pass by reference, just like same variable integer and we are using. So what it will do, we are using constant because it will not change any time, right? We are simply passing this value and we are assigning it. We are not modifying it. We are not going to modify any value, right? So when I'm saying DIMS obj2 is equals to obj1, so what compiler will internally do? It will do like this, right? So what it will do, it will simply say obj2 dot, it will call this function DIMS internally function, and it will pass the value as obj1 internal processing. You understood? So what it will do, object2 will be the current function. This will be referred by this pointer, correct? And it will call this DIMS. This is nothing but our constructor. It's actually constructor is also a function name, so it will call like this. So it will call the DIMS. Instead this, it will pass the obj1. So once we get the obj1, it will assign all the values to x and y. Correct. So instead of sharing the address, now what will we do when we define the constructor? So initially, what compiler will do, it will just consider the local functions, or we can say overloaded functions. So we have just overloaded the compiler behavior by using the copy constructor. Now first it will refer to this thing. If you find any copy constructor, then it will assign the value, and it will assign the value to x and y field for object 2. Right. So now it will not share the same address.
Now we can change the values.
Yeah, you can change the value, and both values will be different because address is not same. So if we are not defining any copy constructor, if you're writing obj2 is equals to obj1, then in that case the address will be same, right? But when we are defining copy constructor, then we are just overloading, right? We are just overloading, or we are just ignoring the compiler or compiler behavior. We are defining our own behavior, how exactly the function will operate.
Okay.
You understood the concept? Yeah. So try this in assignment today. This is an important concept of copy construct, right? So just to overload the bitwise copy function. Bitwise nothing but address sharing concept. We are using this. So it will just share the values whatever we have, not the memory.
Okay. Okay. Understood.
Got the concept? This is an important concept and question also. This pointer, copy constructor,
so now
shared variable, shared one. Right? So these are important concepts. Right? Yeah. Go ahead. Tell me.
Okay, so now if we change any values x and y in object 2, so that will not reflect in object 1.
Because we are just copying the values now.
Copying the values. Okay.
Yeah. So it's overriding the compiler behavior. So compiler behavior will be just sharing the same memory location, but copy constructor will override the behavior of compiler. So it will just copy the values.
Okay.
You understood the concept?
Yeah, understood.
Any confusion you have here?
No confusion.
Sure? Okay.
Till I write an exam.
That's okay, right? So what you can do is just try out these examples, right? And you can do some operator overloading for another operator also, right? Just like comma operator I told you, right? So when I'm saying y is equals to x comma y comma z, so y will be equals to z, so it will take the last value. Right? So you can operator overload comma operator, and you can just check. Hey, have you tried new and delete operator? I mean, I think new operator we have discussed in last class, right? So did you get any chance to try that operator? New malloc and calloc?
Malloc and calloc I tried.
So it's working for you? Any confusion in that?
No, it's working. No confusion.
So difference you know, right? In malloc and calloc.
Yeah, difference. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
calloc means it will
assign
the values to 0.
Yes, right. Okay, right. So new also we have, just like similarly we have calloc, right?
Dynamic.
See? So we have new int, or we can say that, let's say we are defining an integer pointer, integer star p. So we can say p is equals to new int and we can assign any value
New
like
integer.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that also you should try, right? See, and I think
Okay.
in C++ we have that exception handling concept, but it's not supporting in Turbo C++. Just now I tried. So I think we use a
Okay.
different compiler, or we can check it out in Java when we are starting. Right? So Java will
Okay.
handle all the things.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very
Java.
easy
No. Yeah.
concept when we are saying exception handling. So when I'm saying exception
Mm-hmm.
handling, let's say I'm dividing 1 by 0, right? So that value is not
Then
defined.
throw
So
your.
that is actually a runtime
Mm.
exception it will throw, right? So instead of,
Okay.
so when it's showing runtime exception, just like you remember floating point issue we had when I'm using alt plus F9, I was showing
Yeah.
value.
Correct.
That
Yeah.
was a
Correct.
runtime issue, right?
Mm.
So we will not understand how the
Mm.
program will end, right? So
Yeah. Correct.
instead of throwing exception to compiler, so it will give a runtime error, what we will do is we'll just catch that exception,
We'll catch the exception.
correct? And we
Okay.
will do processing whatever we want, or we
Mm.
can ignore it, right? So just compiler is giving us a
Okay.
chance, one-time chance to just capture the exception and do whatever we want, or we can just fix the value also.
Oh,
That we call as
okay.
exception handling, and the syntax will be try and
Mm.
catch. So try is nothing, whatever code we are writing,
Okay.
and we have doubt that this can throw error, and catch we will throw the error exception if it throws.
Oh,
That's very easy
okay.
concept, right? Try catch, sorry, and this is
Mm.
applicable in every programming
Okay.
language,
Okay.
right? So this is the concept we have.
Mm.
Any confusion we have? Otherwise, we will close the session for today.
No confusion at all.
So till now we are good.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's fine. You can try out all these things, right? Static variable, static functions,
Yeah, I'll
this
try the all
pointer,
this.
copy constructor, and this operator overloading. I think 5 points we have covered,
Mm.
right? So operator overloading, how you felt? It's easy or hard? Or it's tricky?
It's easy. No, it's easy.
Easy. Okay. So I'm just concluding the session. Fine.
Okay.